I knew the writing was on the wall the second my primary admin tag vanished from the dashboard, like a ghost in the system. No memo, no warning. One minute I was the last line of defense on our enterprise demo stack. The next I was just Delaney from support. That tag wasn't just a title. It was 5 years of blood, sweat, and weekends I didn't get back. I built that scaffolding from scratch, authentication chains, sandbox locks, auto-reset triggers, all the quiet little gears that made the Yesterwave demo run smoother than a whiskey on ice. And now, some slick-haired motivational poster of a man named Bryce strolled in like he invented JavaScript and started poking around like my systems were his playground. I didn't say anything, not at first. Just smiled through his fake friendly collaboration syncs while he subtly rewrote job titles and reassigned half my workflows to his little army of junior hires. One of them actually asked me if automation meant I just pressed buttons. Bless his heart. And hey, while you're here and we're being real, take 2 seconds to tap that subscribe button and throw a like on this. I know 90% of y'all are listening like I used to eat M and MTKS during staff meetings, quietly and anonymously. But your support, it keeps this going. And I promise it only gets juicier from here. Now, back to the disaster. It was subtle at first. Access logs started glitching. I get pinged about demo prep, then uninvited an hour later. Meeting agendas showed system infrastructure TBD, even though I'd been running those roadmaps since before Bryce knew where the coffee filters were. Then came the big one. I opened the internal credential manager one morning and saw that my name had been removed from the critical admin chain registry. No email, no escalation, just gone, like a dry erase marker across a tombstone. That was the moment I stopped hoping things would get better. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I opened up my private logbook, flipped to a clean page, and wrote down the date. Then I did what every woman in tech learns to do before the world teaches her to. I documented everything, every bypass, every schema tweak. Every time he claimed credit for patch I deployed solo while he was tweeting about culture shifts. I even documented my own replacements. Bryce liked to brag about ownership culture, but never once asked where the keys were kept. And honey, I had the keys. Literal, metaphorical, and encrypted. See, here's the part he never understood. That technical glue he mocked, that glue was intelligent, strategic, legal. I'd built fail-safes not because I didn't trust my team, but because I knew how fast these boys rotated through, breaking things and blaming the women who cleaned it up. Every automation ran on a chain of validation that included biometric override, my biometric override, buried in a sandbox environment so clean it could have passed an FDA audit. And unless someone dug real deep, they'd never notice that without my explicit token authentication, the demo would eventually time out into lockdown. But I wasn't planning revenge. Not then. I just wanted to leave clean. Let them flounder for a bit, figure out how deep the well ran. I even drafted a goodbye email, professional, buttoned up, timestamped, and backed up. It included everything they'd need to run the next round of demos without me. All they had to do was read it. Just read it. But people like Bryce don't read. They present. They swagger. They assume the system will always work because someone like me is buried underneath it. So yeah, I let him think he won. He started fading me out of calls, assigning my tickets to interns, announcing changes I wasn't even CC'd on. One time he introduced himself to a partner as head of platform infrastructure. I was standing 5 feet away. My jaw twitched. My smile didn't. By the end of that week, I had my desk boxed up, not because I was fired. Not yet, just prepared. I knew it was coming. You can smell layoffs in the HVAC like mildew in July. HR gets skittish. Office managers stop restocking your almond milk. Bryce started ending every meeting with "we'll circle back," and my Jira access mysteriously broke right after I flagged a security gap. They were pushing me out like I was a slow-moving virus in the system, but viruses adapt, and some just wait. I wasn't going to sabotage anything. That's not my style. But I was going to let gravity do its job. And the thing about gravity? It doesn't care how shiny your loafers are. When it hits hard. The day Bryce told the team that Delaney's legacy systems are officially sunset, I was standing right there, clutching a half-warm coffee, listening to a 26-year-old junior dev named Cam mispronounce my own file structure while pretending he'd built it. Legacy systems, he called it, like I was a rotary phone wrapped in a cardigan. Like the same code base that had landed us 3 enterprise clients last year wasn't still the backbone of every successful demo we'd ever run. Bryce smiled while Cam stammered through the presentation, like a proud dad watching his golden retriever almost spell a word. He used my diagrams. He quoted my schema comments. And I sat in the second row, smiling so tightly my molars cracked. Modernization. Bryce kept calling it. His new favorite word, like a breath mint he popped before every condescending stand-up. What he meant was rebranding, taking my 5 years of work, slapping a trendy font on the slide deck, and handing it to the least qualified person in the room. I watched as my sandbox environments were migrated poorly into a Frankenstein dev stack with Future Ready scribbled in Comic Sans. It was like watching someone try to hotwire a Tesla with a spork. Then came the real slap. We'd been prepping for the Series B pitch for months. The live demo was our baby, custom built with modular failovers, invisible API call sequencing, and real-time simulated data pulls. My code, my structure. I had fine-tuned every edge case to perform like a Broadway show. So when the prep meeting invite went out and my name wasn't on it, I laughed. Out loud. I thought it was a mistake. Spoiler, it wasn't. I asked Bryce directly. Hey, just checking, should I be in that prep call for Thursday? The demo's running on my framework, he smiled. The kind of smile that lives between a dental ad and a knife fight. Nah, I think Logan's got it. We're trying to elevate new voices. Appreciate your help getting it stable, though. Logan. The same guy who once asked me what a staging server was. The same guy who once deployed a dev-only branch to production because he liked the button colors better. Elevate new voices. That's corporate for sit down and shut up, but thanks for building the rocket. Later that night, I checked the updated access schema doc Bryce circulated. My name, gone. Replaced by something called Security Migration Plan. Phase 1, and guess who was listed as lead? Yep, Bryce. The footnote citing core reauth strategy transitioned to Logan M. Transitioned, like my work was some seasonal desk plant they could hand off. It took everything in me not to respond. But instead, I logged into the admin dashboard, quietly, calmly, like a surgeon before the first cut, and there it was. Still there, still intact, still untouched. Root admin on the demo stack. My final safety hook. A silent, secure gate that required biometric confirmation, mine, to fully unlock the authentication scaffold in live pitch mode. I'd built it years ago, back when a client accidentally nuked a live demo with a misfired login attempt, and our whole infrastructure nearly melted. Since then, I'd hard-coded that extra layer into every iteration. Legally, transparently, documented, and ignored, apparently. They never revoked it because they never bothered to learn it existed. Because in Bryce's world, systems don't have authors, just appear, pre-chewed and sanitized, ready for the next ego to ride them into glory. So I sat back, and I sharpened my exit like a blade. I started forwarding Bryce's contradictory Slack messages to my personal archive. I screen-captured calendar invites that overlapped demo rehearsals with team wellness time. I saved the version history of every doc he rewrote with his name slapped on top. I even kept a folder of every bug ticket I'd quietly fixed while he was busy pitching vaporware to finance. And through it all, I kept smiling. Outwardly agreeable. The dependable ghost in the background. Because here's the thing about being erased, if they think you're gone, they stop watching you. And if they stop watching, you can start documenting. Every fake credit, every access error, every quiet failure ticking like a time bomb underneath that shiny PowerPoint of his. Let him have his spotlight. Let them all applaud while he lights the stage with a flamethrower. I just made sure the smoke alarms were still wired to me. It was 2:37 a.m. when I opened the sandbox. Not because I was panicking, no, that ship had sailed. This was surgical, precise, like sealing a vault before a flood. The canary protocol wasn't some secret sabotage script or self-destruct drama. It was insurance. Quiet, legal, and already buried in a security white paper Bryce never read. Hell, I wrote it. The sandbox was clean, isolated, untouched by his migration warriors, as he called them in a Slack thread so cringe I almost printed it just to burn it. I moved the critical automation sequences, the heartbeat of the live demo stack, into a parallel instance that mirrored every pulse, every check, every glorious bit of auth choreography I'd perfected over 5 years. Except this time, I added one line to the boot chain. Require biometric token. Delaney R just that. No fireworks, no alarm bells, just a gate with a lock that only recognized me. No token, no launch, not even a bypass for CTO override. Not unless you knew where the dead switch was, and spoiler, Bryce didn't. I encrypted the protocol twice. Logged it to our compliance system with a 6-month expiration date. Completely above board. Wouldn't stop anything as long as they followed the steps. The ones in my documentation. The same documentation nobody ever read because it wasn't wrapped in a PowerPoint and narrated with a smirk. Then I tested it. I ran a dry sequence against the dev mirror and watched it hum to life like a tuned engine. Perfect. Secure, elegant, and now mine. The next day, Bryce scheduled a pre-pitch demo with a small VC firm. I wasn't invited, naturally, but I sat at my desk anyway, earbuds in, pretending to troubleshoot ticket queue 1987, which was just an empty shell I created to justify sitting still. At exactly 2:04 p.m., the system chirped. Demo authentication started. The system worked. Seamlessly. I hadn't revoked anything yet. Bryce strutted around like he'd just invented the concept of uptime. Logan was fidgeting at the keyboard like he'd been asked to land a plane. I sipped my tea and smiled. Because I knew the moment I pulled my token, really pulled it, the next time that demo hit live mode, silence. That's when it hit me deep in my gut, not as vengeance but as clarity. I wasn't mourning anymore. I wasn't even angry. Just coldly done. There's a point where your self-respect kicks in like a steel toe to the ribs, and suddenly you're not chasing the job, the validation, or the illusion of team anymore. You're watching it all with the detachment of someone who's already walked through the fire and come out crispy on the other side. So I started building my final exit file. I logged every change I'd made to the demo architecture, every transfer, every credential update. Not in the public repo, oh no. In a private, time-stamped vault, with receipts. I wrote the email that would go out the minute I walked out the door. Polite, professional, painfully clear. Subject line, live demo authorization dependencies. Nothing dramatic, just bullet points. Because drama is for people who still think someone's listening. I even added a note: this configuration assumes retained access by primary admin. If changes are made, please ensure MFA continuity is updated per protocol. It was like leaving a banana peel in the middle of a runway with a sign that said, please watch your step. If they slipped, that was on them. At night, I started packing the small things from my desk. Not the usual dramatic box, but the quiet stuff, the emergency chocolate, the framed photo of my old dog, Jasper, my backup flash drive with vintage builds from the first time we pitched this damn software. I took down the post-it that said stay low, move quiet, hit hard when it counts. My logbook, that came home with me. Hardcover, no label. Just page after page of timestamps, admin notes, and tiny observations. Like June 14, 9:13 a.m. Bryce reassigns login testing to Cam. Cam breaks staging server. No one notices. July 3, 4:52 p.m. Migration plan doc updated. My name removed. Logan adds cartoon shark as watermark. July 15, 1:06 a.m. Canary protocol mirrored. Sandbox secure. Token tested. System green. I wasn't paranoid. I was prepared. I had no idea what was keeping the lights on. They just assumed the sun came up because Bryce opened the blinds. And I was about done pretending to be the sun. The bastard timed it like a magician with a cheap watch, 7:58 a.m. on the dot, before the coffee even hit my bloodstream. HR called, hey Delaney, can you swing by for a quick chat? Quick chat, my ass. The moment I walked in and saw Bryce already seated, legs crossed like he was auditioning for a villain monologue, I knew the show had started. He was holding a folder. One of those faux leather things that screams we practiced this in front of a mirror. Caffeinated, smug, and dressed like he was headed to a tech conference where they give out awards for using the word synergy unironically. Delaney, he said, like he was about to knight me, we've really appreciated everything you've done here. But we're moving in a new direction. He slid the envelope across the table like a dealer offering a losing hand. Best of luck, he added, with a wink that could sterilize a room. There was a long pause, not awkward, just quiet. A heavy, thick kind of silence where you can hear your heartbeat counting how many years you wasted keeping something upright for people like this. I picked up the envelope, opened it, read the numbers. Severance was clean, 2 months, NDA stapled to the back like an afterthought. Char looked more uncomfortable than I did, probably wondering if I was going to cry. But my hands steady, my voice clearer than it had been in weeks. Thank you, I said, genuinely, because I meant it. Then I reached into my pocket and placed my badge on the table right next to his coffee cup. I turned, walked out. No door slam, no glance back. But before I made it past the elevator, I pulled out my phone. Opened my email drafts, click send. Subject line, live demo authorization dependencies timestamp, 7:59 a.m. I knew exactly what was in that email. Bullet points. Clean, surgical, no fluff. Just truth, live demo scaffold requires primary admin biometric confirmation. Token ID. Delaney R. failover backup sequence. Expires 72 HRS post-access revocation documentation for alternate activation. Requires elevated clearance and MFA update failure to follow will result in access halt per canary protocol v4.6. I had sent versions of it before. Tucked in tech documentation, footnotes, and quarterly maintenance memos. Nobody ever read them, but this one, they'd have no excuse. It hit every inbox of relevance: CTO, security lead, platform engineering, and of course, Bryce. HR held the elevator door for me. I smiled, they didn't. By 8:03 I was outside. The morning air was cool, sun barely peeking over the edge of the parking garage. I stood there for a second, breathing in freedom and carbon monoxide. Then I drove home. There's something unnervingly peaceful about walking out of a building for the last time when you know they still think you were just background noise. Just the glue girl, the process person. The one who keeps things stable while they color in charts and pat themselves on the back for pushing things forward. They'd fired the wrong person. But they wouldn't know that, not yet. Not until 9:01 a.m. And by then, I'd be 3 sips into a cup of tea, watching the morning news and deciding whether or not I felt like answering their calls. Spoiler, I didn't. 8:45 a.m. sharp, and they were already in the boardroom polishing each other's egos. The big meeting. The one Bryce kept calling the cathedral moment. Series B funding. Multi-million-dollar pitch. All that VC dry powder stacked like gunpowder in suits and espresso shots, ready to ignite the moment that demo went live. Bryce had been rehearsing his lines all week. I knew because I found a scribbled outline in the printer tray that said open with vision. Mention scale. Say real time at least 5 times. That man could sell sand to a drowning man if you gave him a clicker and enough buzzwords. So there he was, waltzing to the head of the table like he owned the air in the room. His shirt too tight, his grin even tighter. Across from him sat the CEO, looking bored but expectant. Next to her were 3 senior partners from Blackfire Ventures, 2 faces from Silver Arches Capital, and someone from the board pretending not to be checking his phone. All of them waiting, watching, assuming everything behind the curtain would just work, because it always had. Logan, bless his terrified little heart, was posted up at the monitor like a deer driving a stick shift. Bryce nodded at him, this theatrical, exaggerated nod like he was passing the torch instead of lighting the fuse on a time bomb. Go ahead, Bryce said. His voice rang through the room like an actor on opening night. Let's show them what we've built. Miles away in my kitchen, I finished my coffee. French press, black, no sugar, still in my pajama pants. Jasper's old dog collar sat on the windowsill. I gave it a little tap for luck. Then I opened my laptop, logged into the private Canary dashboard, and toggled the token from active to revoked. MFA dependency disabled. At exactly 8:47 a.m., just like I designed, I didn't do it out of anger. I wasn't giggling like some cartoon villain. I wasn't even emotional. I just flipped a switch, removed myself from the equation. Because that's what they wanted, right? A world without Delaney. A system without the person who understood why it worked. Well, good luck, gentlemen. The demo sequence had a buffer. 60 seconds to handshake, 30 to resolve dependencies, and a final 15-second cascade to verify real-time authentication through the biometric token. Without my token, that cascade would initiate the timeout cycle. No warning, no fireworks, just a subtle drift, like a dream you can't quite remember. Back in the boardroom, Logan hit enter. The screen lit up. Loading, Bryce began his opener. Something about horizontal scalability and intelligent workflow orchestration. He used the word synergize, twice, but the screen, still loading, the cascade had begun. See, this is what they don't teach in those startup boot camps. Systems don't fail with fire. They fail with quiet, with blinking cursors, with frozen UIs, with boards full of VCs silently staring at a screen that's supposed to sing and instead just stares back. 8:50 a.m. Refresh the Canary dashboard. Demo environment, authentication timeout triggered. I watched as the system tried to reauth, over and over, searching for the token that no longer existed, and I waited, because when it hit 9:01 a.m., something very special would appear on that screen, and no one, not a single soul in that room, would be able to stop it. 9:01 a.m., the room didn't erupt, it didn't explode, it froze. And on that massive wall-mounted screen, the one Bryce insisted they upgrade to maximize investor immersion, appeared a single, unforgiving line in crisp white text on a black void. Primary admin authorization required. Access halted. Logan was the first to break. He leaned forward, tapping the spacebar like he was playing whack-a-mole. Wait, hang on, sorry. This worked during the staging, his voice cracked. It cracked like drywall under a leaky pipe. Bryce walked up behind him with a swagger that was already starting to rot. He bent over the keyboard, clicking through tabs like sheer force would make the system change its mind. Okay, it's just it's cached or the server's sleeping. One sec, it's a known hiccup, Logan. Did you clear the auth? Logan shook his head, eyes wide, fingers twitching. I ran the normal sequence. It didn't, it's not prompting MFA. It's just stuck. It's not stuck, Bryce hissed. It's fine. Give me the mouse. He took it, started clicking. Settings, server tab, API logs, clicking harder, faster, as if enough pressure would scare the UI into compliance. The screen didn't flicker, didn't budge. Primary admin authorization required, access halted, nothing else, no error code, no diagnostics, just that dead, calm message, like a tombstone. Across the table, the CTO was staring, not at the screen, at the message, reading it again and again like maybe this time it would say something different. His mouth hung slightly open like a guy trying to remember if he locked his front door. Next to him, one of the partners, Silver Arches if I had to guess, slowly, deliberately closed his laptop. Not a word, just that gentle, final click of the lid, the sound of a deal ending. Silence stretched like taffy. You could taste it. The tension, thick and metallic. Smell of ozone and aftershave and panic sweat. Even the HVAC seemed to stop. Bryce tried again, typed something into the terminal, hit enter. Waited, nothing. He clicked on a script called fallback demo authpy, invalid permission. He clicked again. Primary admin authorization required, still. He straightened up, shoulders twitching like someone walking into a punch. Okay, he muttered, forcing a chuckle. It's a system thing. We just need to refresh the API token. Minor issue. We're modernizing the stack, so a few hiccups are expected. No one smiled. The CEO finally turned her head, slow, measured. The kind of motion predators make when they've caught the scent of wounded prey. She didn't raise her voice, didn't bang the table. She just looked at him and said, flat and deadly, fix it, now. Bryce blinked. Mouth opened, closed. His fingers hovered over the mouse like it might electrocute him. He clicked one last time. Still that same screen, still that same sentence. The CTO quietly pulled out his phone and started scrolling, probably looking for my last email. The board sat like statues, and miles away I closed the canary dashboard. I already knew how this would go. I built the lock, they threw away the key, and now they were trapped in their own silence. The CTO's fingers hovered above his keyboard like they were trembling from something colder than fear, confirmation. He didn't speak, he didn't even blink. Just opened the admin terminal and dove into the logs like a surgeon digging for shrapnel in the wrong body. Every keystroke echoed in that boardroom like a death knell. Tap, tap, enter, scroll. The display mirrored to the second monitor, big enough for everyone to see. Lines of text spilled down the screen, date-stamped, time-stamped, signed, sealed, and most definitely delivered. July 15 Delaney R. MFA token enforced. Primary admin required July 16 Delaney R. Canary protocol deployed. Sandbox failover operational July 17 Delaney R. Dependency update doc sent to Bryce M at CTO at infralead at legal at the CTO paused. Highlighted that last line. Read it again and again. Then opened the email archive, clicked search. There it was, sitting in his inbox, unread. Subject, live demo authorization dependencies, timestamp 7:59 a.m. Same day she walked out the door. His shoulders slumped. Not dramatically, just enough to show the weight of someone realizing they were the weak link in the chain. That it wasn't sabotage. It wasn't spite. It was negligence. The kind that comes wrapped in arrogance and passed around boardrooms like a complimentary mint. Bryce, who had been pacing near the monitor like a trapped raccoon, finally piped up. This is old. It's legacy. I was told the MFA was deprecated in 4.5, Logan. Didn't you say we moved to soft tokens? Logan looked like he wanted to crawl inside a USB port and never come out. I never said that. I said I thought we did, but it's irrelevant, Bryce snapped. The protocol was never cleared for production. She left it in there on purpose. This is entrapment. That's when legal cleared her throat. Just once. Everyone turned. She held up her tablet, clicked something. She didn't leave it in. She documented it, formally. It's logged in the system, included in her termination handoff packet and matched against the active access control policy. It was flagged as mission critical. Another silence fell, deeper this time, not confusion, shame. The CTO opened the access config side by side with the doc. Every warning she wrote, every bullet point matched exactly. Word for word. Didn't say anything, he didn't have to. The visiting partner from Blackfire stood, slowly, like a man whose watch had just run out of time. He didn't raise his voice, didn't gesture. He just packed up his leather notepad, adjusted the cuffs on his jacket, and walked toward the door. No handshake, no eye contact. Just a single word, muttered with the finality of a guillotine drop, unacceptable. The door clicked shut behind him like a coffin lid. Bryce looked like someone had hit him with a sandbag full of broken promises. No one moved, no one dared, because they all knew. They'd ignored the one person who never needed applause. The one person who didn't posture, didn't bluff, didn't play politics. Delaney had told them, in writing, in plain English, in polite bullet points professionally formatted. And now the emperor was naked and the boardroom smelled like smoke and pride. The CTO finally muttered under his breath, just loud enough to cut through the tension. She told us. We just didn't listen. The collapse wasn't cinematic. No explosions, no fire alarms. Just silence, followed by the soft, wet crunch of egos folding under pressure. By 9:28 a.m., the email from Blackfire Ventures hit the CEO's inbox with a subject line that might as well have been written in blood. Withdrawal. Series B proposal yesterday. The body was one sentence. We no longer have confidence in the leadership or infrastructure readiness at this time. No signature. No soft landing. By 9:45, Silver Arches canceled their follow-up. At 10:02, an internal calendar invite titled Postmortem Prep Demo Incident was sent company-wide. At 10:09, Bryce was placed on administrative leave, a phrase so sterile it almost sanitized the room. HR escorted him out while he babbled something about how the system wasn't supposed to even be active. This was a miscommunication. Delaney didn't loop me in. Logan dropped the ball. The CTO signed off. No one argued. No one defended. I just watched him go, holding a reusable water bottle and a face that aged 5 years and 15 minutes. And the CTO, God bless the man, just kept staring at the monitor, like the logs might suddenly rearrange themselves and absolve him of ignoring the woman who had held the ship together with duct tape and discipline. She told us, he muttered again, as if repeating it might summon a portal back in time. She told us. We just didn't listen. It was chaos in the war room. Screens blinking, phones vibrating, legal spinning up damage control, marketing trying to decide whether to issue a statement or pretend none of it happened. The conference line buzzed with silence as the remaining partners ghosted one by one, dropping off like flies leaving a corpse behind. The CEO stood by the window, arms crossed so tightly it looked like she was holding herself together by force. For the first time in her tenure, she didn't have an answer, didn't have a strategy. Just one name she kept whispering under her breath like a Hail Mary on fire, Delaney. She stepped out, pulled her personal phone, Dialed, across town in a small condo 2 floors above a bakery that made a criminally good cinnamon roll. My phone buzzed on the kitchen table. I glanced at the screen. CEO's name, company number. I let it ring once. Then sent it to voicemail. No hard feelings, just boundaries. Back at HQ, the CEO stared at the screen. Tried again. Same result. She didn't leave a message. What could she say? Sorry we erased you. Sorry we called your work legacy and handed it to interns. Sorry we needed you only after we kicked you to the curb like expired yogurt. Meanwhile, I was slicing an apple. Real sharp knife. Real slow pace. The morning light hit my countertop like a blessing. I wasn't celebrating. I wasn't even smiling. Just breathing like I hadn't in years. They had everything they needed to avoid this. Every document, every warning, every system map. They chose swagger over safety, hype over humility. And now they were left with silence. And I was left with peace. The patio was quiet, save for the wind teasing the leaves and the occasional hum of a lawnmower a few yards over. I sat cross-legged on the faded cushion of a chair I kept meaning to replace, book open, coffee cooling in the sun. The sky was a soft, stupid blue, indifferent, perfect. My phone buzzed again and again and again. I didn't check it right away. I finished the chapter, took a sip, ran my thumb down the spine of the book like it was a long-lost friend. Then I picked up the phone and opened my inbox. 47 new emails. Subject lines stacked like desperate prayers. Please respond ASAP, need your help urgently, 6-figure consulting, offer flexible terms, critical platform lockout, immediate need, can we schedule just 10 minutes of your time? And then, buried near the top, the real confession. We're so sorry, we didn't know. You were right, I opened it, not out of curiosity, just to make sure I was seeing what I thought I was. The message was short, rambling, a digital stumble. Delaney, we realize now how integral your systems were. We were unaware of the MFA dependencies and the canary protocol. The documentation has since been reviewed. Please, just 10 minutes of your time could unlock the demo and save the quarter. We're prepared to compensate you handsomely for your time. This is bigger than pride. Please help us. I stared at it for a full minute. No anger, no glee. Just the surreal calm that comes when you've been vindicated by your own silence. I tapped reply, typed, I left it documented. Then hit send. Simple, clean, unapologetic, because the truth is I didn't want revenge. I didn't want groveling or groan-worthy redemption arcs or some overcooked apology Zoom with the board looking sheepish in button-downs. I didn't want their money. What I wanted, what I needed was this, to know I hadn't imagined it. No, I wasn't crazy for caring that much. To know the glue had a name. I scrolled back up, selected the thread, and tapped delete. Inbox cleared, final silence. I set the phone down, turned the page, and kept reading. The world didn't spin faster. No angel chorus. Just wind and leaves and the warmth of knowing the building hadn't crumbled because I burned it down. It collapsed because they pulled out the cornerstone and thought the walls would hold anyway. Some lessons come cheap. Some cost you everything you thought you could ignore. Me, I paid early. Now I read in peace. Thanks for watching, you cubicle warriors. Hit that subscribe button. Unless you're my old boss, then you're on your own. Revenge of the coffee pot strikes again.